So hello everyone, in this video we'll be practically working on the objects because in the last video I talked about how objects work and how we can actually create them, what are properties, methods, etc. So let's create an object practically and learn from it. So to create an object we need, just like the others variables we need the select keyword, or we can use var keyword, or we can use any const keyword as well. That's up to you. Let's create an object of student. Now, with the help of this curly brackets, we can create objects. Inside that, we have to specify the property name. The property name can be anything that you want to specify. Make sure it is a string. So you have to wrap them inside a double quote or a single quote. And after that, you specify the value for that property. So basically, you can consider it as a big variable that has different variables assigned or grouped together. So I can add any name for the student. Let's say I have this uh, John. Let's say I can specify class here, and I can give the class here. I can specify a roll number. Let's say the roll number. Let's say I have the 10 roll number. Similarly, I can specify a method as well. So these are some methods. Oh, these are some properties, and we have a method as well. So how we can write the method? Simply, it is just a property in which we have assigned a function. So how can we do that? It is very simple. You just have to write the method name or the property name that you are specifying. So let's say I have a method called get name. So this will actually give me, let's create one more last name, and we have this last name as well. Now I can create a method called get full name, which will give us the full name. Now in this function or this anonymous function, I can create anything and I can do anything. Let me just write a full name, and I can use this keyword to access its own object's property. So I can use this name. This keyword is used to access the property which we have, this name. I cannot directly use it because uh, this specifies the scope. So it will check locally, not globally. So that's why I'm specifying this keyword. So it checks in the object as well. So this dot name, we can specify this dot last name. Also, we have some empty spaces, right? So in this way, we can get a full name and I can return that full name. Oh, the spelling of return should be correct. Now this is called an object. I can easily access its properties. Let's say I want to access the property of name. So I can easily do that. So I can use the object name, which is student, and I can access any property. You can see I can access any property or any method that we have. So I can access name, let's say. So if I save it and see the console, we'll see the property name or this value. If I directly uh, console log the student, we'll see the complete object here. You can see that we have this complete object. We can also get the method executed like this. I can use this get full name method. We know that it is a method, so we'll be using this open bracket to execute the function. I can see we are getting the full name, John Doe, because that's what it is returning. Similarly, we have other techniques to call these things or these properties. We have this dot notation, as well as we have, let's say if I want to access this roll number, so how can I do that? So if I do this way, so you can see it, my ID is automatically converting it to an array calling method, like it is changing that to array notation. So when you have a property name which is longer than a one word or which contains spaces, then you'll be using square brackets to call that property. Otherwise, it will give you an error. So you cannot use dot notation on that. If you have a single word or a single word property name, then you can use dot notation or any array notation. So it's up to you. But when we have a word more than one word, or when we have a property which contains spaces, then we'll be definitely using the square bracket. Otherwise, we would have error, or we would not get the right property. So now I can get the roll number now. If I see that, I can see we are getting the roll number. Similarly, I wanted to explain you that how you can actually update the values from the objects. So let's say you want to update the name, so you can directly use student.name and update the value. Let's say I want to make as Mark. So this will be updated. So you just have to assign a new value to the property, then that will be updated. Now if I console log student object, you can see name is updated to Mark now. And if I execute the function called get full name, that will also give us the updated result. Now you can see it is giving us Mark Do instead of John Do. So this way you can actually update the things. You can also delete some property if you want to delete that. So let's say I want to delete this class property. So I can easily do that with the help of the student dot class. So I can access the property name, and then that can be deleted with the help of this delete keyword. If I now just log this out, log the complete object, we can see we don't have any uh, class object property here. So this way you can delete the property or any method in the object. Similarly, there is one concept of specifying references, or objects work with references. So let's say if I have a variable called number, let's say number one, or simply num1. If I have a number, let's say 53, and I want to create a copy of this num1, I have a num2 variable, and inside that I just specify the num1 variable. So whatever num1 has, I'm just creating a copy of that variable name or variable value to this num2. So this way we actually create a value copy of the value. Basically 53 is again assigned to this num2. Now if I update num2, let's say if I update num2 as 67, so that would give us num2 as 67. We know that. But what if I console log the num1 variable as well, because we created a copy, right? We created a copy from the value of num1. So will that will be also updated or not? So in this case, it only affects to the second one, because when we assign or when we create a copy like this, it creates a copy of the value, not the copy of the reference. So when something updates on one change, or when we change a variable and some other variable also change, so at that time we can say that they are a copy of reference. Let's see what happens. So we can see this one is changed, but the second one is still 53. But let's say if I change this like an object, let's say if I create, let me just remove it. Now our student will be having the John class. I can see that, or John property. Now let's say I have created one more variable called, or one more object copied from the student. Let's say I have created Yash, or let's say I have this John, and I'm just copying this student object here. So now I have two objects. One is John, the second one is student. Now if I console log student, we know that we won't be having any class here or class property. But in the John as well, we won't be having the class, because when I delete something from this student, so that will also affect this one, or opposite also makes the sense. If I delete something or if I change something in this object, in this John, so this student object will also be affected, because whenever we create objects, they are created as references. So if we make a copy of those references, so they will affect each other if we change any of the value. Now you can see both of them are having the John, and they're not having the class property. Let's say if I change something in John, let's say if I update the name, John dot name equals to, let's say I change that to Mark. So I changed it in John object, right? That shouldn't affect student object, but it will affect that, because I told you that they are created as a reference. When we copy the object to other object, they will have a same reference. So if we change any of that, so both of them will be changed. Now you can see both of them are changed here. So this is the case that I wanted to tell you. So value and the reference. So this is all about objects we did. In the future video, we'll be discussing other JavaScript topic. So thank you for watching. Let's meet in the another one.